Hi guys, welcome to what's what's up Sunday. That's what I decided to call it. What's up Sunday. We were supposed to be doing a live with Diane Garris with the Twin Flames and the Watts case. However, we had some technical issues this morning, so it didn't happen. But it's going to happen next week. Next week, same time, same place. And so I hope you'll join us, okay? Today I kind of wanted to just look around the internet and see what is up with the Watts case. Um, See if there's anything new going on that's interesting. So I've got this Chris Watts new updates. Let's see what people say. Chris Watts uncensored documentary. Is that what we're looking for? What has Chris Watts been up to? Update. A Paul. Let's see.
Hey guys, it's April and welcome back to my channel. And today, before we dive right into Crimetober, I wanted to give you an update of the case we covered last October. As you can probably guess, it's claiming that they had a relationship, or even just probably guess it's the Chris Watts case. Now, I want to say right here that this is all alleged. I am just a girl that can search on the internet for updates, and honestly, this video is going to be a little bit more gossipy than my usual videos. So just take everything in this video with a grain of salt. So if you haven't already, you should go and watch my Chris Watts video, but let's just dive right in. So for you guys that don't know, this is the Watts family: Shanann, Chris, and their two daughters, Bella and Cece. Now, Shanann is pregnant with Nico at the time of her murder also. Shanann sold Thrive, and she was very much active on Facebook because Thrive is an MLM, which thrives in social media. So she was constantly posting pictures and videos of her and her family and how much Thrive has helped her, and just sharing her life with everyone that followed her. And through all of her videos on Facebook, they just seemed like the perfect family. And these girls worshipped their dad, absolutely worshipped him, and trusted him and just cared so much about him. The way these girls would look at him, it breaks my heart to know that he's the one that killed them. Chris was having an affair with a woman named Nicole Kessinger that he met at his work at Anadarko. And according to Chris, he just snapped one night. He strangled his wife to death.
You've got to tune into Parawoman Radio, and I'm Amy. If you like this content, if you could just give me a thumbs up, it helps me tremendously. And then if you like the content, please subscribe. I'm working towards 500. And I'm just amazed that there's 460 people out there watching my stuff. More people, that those are just my subscribers, and I'm truly grateful for you. Truly grateful.
And wrapped her up in a sheet and drug her and baby Nico downstairs and into his truck. He then picked up his two girls and put them also in the truck with their feet sitting on Shanann, who's dead in the floor. Once he got to his work, he then suffocated his kids to death and put them in the oil tanks and buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave.
Okay,
and then went to work like he was totally fine. And during the investigation, Chris swears he has only had an affair on Shanann with Nicole. But
I know somebody who knows that Amanda, she worked with her. I guess this will be gossipy too. She worked with her, and she had a substance abuse issue. So she could have done that live or that interview for money. Who knows? But then there was also the guy.
There were quite a few people coming forward claiming that they had had a relationship or even just like a lustful relationship with Chris, men and women. But Chris, of course, said this was false. And Chris has been very vocal and has said to multiple people that if he would have never met Nicole, none of this would have ever happened to his family. But he really doesn't ever elaborate on what he means by that. So let's talk about things that have happened since he's been in prison. Something that we found out is that Shanann did have Oxycontin in her system that Chris gave her. Now, Chris swears he will never say where he got this Oxycontin.
She didn't have Oxycontin in her system. Am I wrong? She didn't have Oxycontin in her system.
Gotten from, but there's a lot of people that talk about it being Nicole. I mean, he was spending so much time with her at the time. Where else would he have really gotten it from if you think about it? And we also found out that in April 2018, Shanann had went to a dinner event with her friend. And you know, at dinner events, you sit all around the table, and sometimes you sit with people you don't really know. At her table was a lawyer, and then she started asking,
I don't think this was a dinner event. I think she was just going out to lunch or dinner with one of her friends, and it was one of those Kyoto steakhouses. They're called something else now, but they cook the food right in front of you. That's what I thought it was.
him some questions about divorce and how that type of stuff works. But a lot of people think that obviously with this type of information, he probably was seeing Nicole back in at least April. And this next point drives me insane. It makes me irrationally mad. But Chris's family claim that this baby probably is not Chris's, that Nico had a different dad. So they got that baby.
This literally pisses me off. This whole Chris, the other friend that I forget his name, this Chris who was part of Thrive, and she went to the Canadian. My lips are dry. Went to that Canadian conference with. They say Cece is his child. Cece looks like him, but that's because he looks like Cece.
Baby DNA testing.
Cece also looks like Shanann and Chris. She has Chris's high, big forehead.
Against Chris. And the dad tried to come out and say that when they came out and told them the results, they said, yes, it's Chris's. But they never specified a last name. So it could clearly not be Chris Watts. Maybe she was having an affair with another guy named Chris. It doesn't make sense.
No,
it does not make sense on how much work that would have to be to say that this baby is not Chris Watts's. Evidently, all he thinks about in prison is his daughters, which, good, you should be haunted with that for the rest of your life. And he says that he just constantly hears Celeste, I think it is, saying, no, daddy, no, no, daddy, no. And Chris gets a ton.
No, it's Bella. Now I know I'm probably right on all this. I was starting to doubt myself. No, Bella is the one who is known to say that because she said that just prior to him suffocating her.
Of mail in prison. A ton. Dozens of letters a day. And just from random people. A lot of them telling him he needs to go kill himself. Some trying to, preach to him, minister to him, that type of thing. But then he gets a lot of women that are in love with him, sending him
Angela from Angela's Aging Essentials, she wrote Chris Watts. She has her letters up on her page, and we also did a live regarding the letters with her. Some women are writing, men and women are writing to Chris because they fear for his soul and they want to bring him Jesus, which he's gotten Jesus. He's got jailhouse religion.
Pictures telling how much they're in love with him. And he has one of these girls that he considers his girlfriend. And he writes most of these people back because honestly, he just has nothing else to do. And in July 2019, this is another part that just infuriates me. Shanann's dad had to come and make a public speech begging them to stop harassing
Yes, this actually video of Frank Rusak is like one of my biggest videos. People watch it all the time.
and bullying their family. That the public
I'll put
was
it down
just
in the
being
description.
so mean to Shanann's family after, I'm pretty sure it was Cindy Watts's book. And Chris actually never hired a paid attorney.
Okay, Cindy Watts had a book supposedly leaked. I think it was 3 or 4 pages or 3 or 4 chapters.
His family said they were going to, but he ended up just sticking with his public defenders because he said those people were actually nice to him and that seemed like they wanted to help them. Which, buddy, they're just doing their job, you know? And Chris's family was really judged on how they acted with this situation because they really did not speak at all about Shanann. And they weren't very upset, it seemed, either. But his mom did say she would feel like a hypocrite if she did this, that she actually didn't like Shanann. She didn't like how open Shanann was
She
about her
makes no
life, how she would post
bones
everything
about the
on
fact
social media.
she does not like Shanann. She talks ill of Shanann.
Made her really uncomfortable. The Wattses are very private. Cindy just had a weird feeling about Shanann from the beginning. Now, Cindy did say she did not like the way Shanann talked to Chris, that it was almost like she talked down to him sometimes, and she would talk about his appearance a lot, and it just showed her how shallow she was. And Cindy said it was like Chris was always looking for her approval, like to the extent of buying this girl a $12,000 engagement ring. Cindy said all of this kind of bothered her on how materialistic Shanann was too. Because
I wanted a big ring, and I didn't get a $12,000 one, but I got a really nice one.
They were simple people. They didn't need anything flashy and big, but Shanann really liked nice things. I mean, she
Who
built a
doesn't?
$500,000 home with 3 formal dining rooms, expensive furniture everywhere, and pieces even flown in from Italy. But Shanann did
3 formal dining rooms. Okay. Was that in her first house? Because in the Colorado house, there's one main formal dining room, and then there's a dining room kitchen type option that was more informal. And her formal dining room was actually a playroom for the girls.
Really hard for all of this. It's not like she didn't earn it. From selling
did work it
Thrive,
hard.
she actually made more money than Chris and Anadarko. But if you watch my first video, you know.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that Chris still made more than her.
That sometime before the end of her life, they did file bankruptcy. So a guy that Chris
and they
has
were
met
getting
in
ready to
prison
file it a second time.
is named Dylan Tallman that we need to discuss.
Ugh.
If any of you have followed Chris Watts updates, you will know about the next person I'm about to talk about. Chris met a guy named Dylan Tallman in prison. They're best friends, and he's in there for burglary. They do consider themselves brothers to the point that they're writing a spiritual book together. But a big headline that was in the news just a little bit ago was that in Dylan Tallman's cell, they found some belongings of Chris Watts. Chris has claimed to find Jesus since he's in prison. So
what do you think about those things that were found in his cell? I mean, underwear and food and lotion seem to be all things that are pretty important in prison. Although I do feel like he's in prison for life. Is he going to shut off his sexuality completely? I don't know. I think that perhaps Chris is bisexual, which There's nothing wrong with that.
Hopefully he can get forgiveness from God, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not there yet. And something that's popped up on YouTube actually is there was two YouTubers that went to the Frederick Police Department in Colorado. They went to the girl that's over evidence and asked for the Chris Watts file. It's public record, so she was able to pull it, and they were just going through it, and I think they were recording where she couldn't really tell. And in some of the paperwork, they found that there was fingerprints that were never tested from the crime scene. And so they asked the lady, hey, why were these other fingerprints never identified? And she explained that the minute that Chris Watts said that he was guilty and he acted alone, they closed the case completely and never.
I did not know that fingerprints that haven't been tested were discovered. I didn't know that. I know. No, I didn't know that.
Tested any other evidence. Now we're going to get into a little bit about Nicole, because have people came forward about Nicole. Chris just still wants Nicole so bad. He talks
That's the
about
problem.
being so.
Nobody is coming forward about Nicole. Nicole must have had very few friends in her life.
Obsessed with her, like she just drives him crazy. And he does talk about welcoming a black force around him, he thinks, when he met her. He claims that Nicole is dark and has dark energy that surrounds her. And people think that her being into witchcraft and knowing how to do those types of things is why she has gotten away with so much in this case. Like, she never even got her text messages.
No.
Peanut. They didn't look through anything of Nicole's at all.
Say no,
including her interrogation was so weird. So weird. They let her ask and lead that whole thing. Chris has talked about that he has witnessed her doing things that he will never speak of. They freak him out so bad. And he believes that he was possessed by a demon when he killed his family. But the weird thing is that Chris is still very protective of Nicole. He won't speak bad of her. He won't say any type of involvement she had. And has came out and said he still wants to be with her. Nicole did cooperate with the police, but there were 4 pings on her phone that the PI found that matched.
No. Wasn't there only one ping? I really want to know where she's getting her information, because I want to see it.
Frederick on July 14th at 10:28 a.m. There was a ping. And if you remember, that's the day that Chris and Nicole went to the car museum together.
Oh, okay.
And then there was 2 pings on July 18th at 4:34 p.m. and 4:40 p.m. And these pings were from her calling Chris. And then there was one last ping the morning of the murders at 6:16 a.m. on August 13th. And at 5:17 a.m. is when Chris put his family in his truck and left. And her call logs also showed that he spent an hour and 11 minutes on the phone with Nicole hours before the murder. And then he spent 2 hours on the phone with her that night. And neither claim they remember what either of.
Where was her source? Just want to click on one and just get an idea of what her source.
Hi, and welcome to Red Brown Media. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's April, and welcome back to my channel. And today, before we dive into other evidence, now we're going to get into a little bit about the type of involvement she had, and has came out and said he still wants to be with her. Nicole did cooperate with the police, but there were 4 pings on her phone that the PI was on the phone with her that night, and neither claimed.
The infamous phone call that nobody remembers that lasted for eternity.
4 and 11 minutes on the phone with Nicole hours before the murder. And then he spent 2 hours on the phone with her that night.
Mhm.
And neither claim they remember what either of those phone calls were about. Nobody knows where Nicole is. We're pretty sure she has changed her name, and Nicole has never given one interview to defend herself. But Chris does get a postcard from Hawaii
she did a
with
Denver
some
Post interview. She did do a Denver Post interview. So there's that.
weird cryptic message about cornbread that he is absolutely convinced is Nicole, not cornbread, banana bread. Now, another person we are going to talk about is Shanann Cadle. She was a 65-year-old woman at the time of all of this that was writing Chris
Who
letters.
couldn't stop herself. She had to like get the first book out. She did it at all costs.
She did end up visiting him a couple times, sometimes for 5 hours. And she was telling him that the best thing he could do was be upfront and honest about what happened. That way, somebody can find warning signs in their husband that's about to do this, or their family member, friend, something like that. So she ended up putting everything together in a book called Letters for Christopher that was released on October 7th, 2021. And what he ended up telling her was he admitted to the murders.
So she raced to get them out. He was convicted in August, September, October. She just raced to get it out.
And said that he had been planning them for 3 to 4 weeks before this. He planned to kill Shanann first and then the girls later on, and then he could go start his new life. Now, mind you, if we're still going with Chris's timeline of when him and Nicole got together, he'd been planning these murders for 3 to 4 weeks before he did, which means at bare minimum, he knew Nicole for 2 weeks before he was planning to kill his whole family to start a new life with her.
I don't believe that for a moment or a second.
Said to her and his dad that he has wished over and over that he just went to this Rockies game with his friends instead of seeing Nicole that night. So, like, did something happen when he went on this date with Nicole? I mean, why would it have been different if he went to the Rockies game and not on this date with Nicole? He said he remembered tucking the girls in and thinking, this is the last time I will ever be doing this, which physically makes me sick to think that that didn't stop him. He had told her that he did try to smother the girls first, but he just couldn't. And the girls woke up with bruises all over their necks and were completely traumatized.
I believe
and he
that.
said that he was shocked that little quiet Bella had so much of a fight in her.
Yes,
fucking
did say that.
disgusting. He said
It's
he
gross.
initially lied to the FBI because they shocked him coming and interviewing him like that. And he said that he did the interview after he was in prison with the FBI.
Chris Watts is always all big and tough after the fact.
About when he told us everything that happened to them, that he did that interview to completely clear Shanann's name since he tried to put it on her earlier. So, I mean, good for him. Sherilyn doesn't believe that the postcard is from Nicole that he's claiming talks about banana bread, but she does believe that he just really means to believe it is. And Chris's new girlfriend that's in prison, one of the girls that's writing him, does not like Sherilyn. She even tried to stop Sherilyn publishing the book, but Sherilyn already had a letter written from Chris with his approval. She did do an interview with Scott Reich that was an hour and a half long, and she talked a little bit more in detail.
She's done a number of interviews all over the internet. She's all over YouTube. I think she did Zav Girl. I'm pretty sure she was on Alex Erickson. I don't know. She did a lot of interviews.
Tale of things that Chris had told her. Sherilyn was very neutral in this situation.
No, she wasn't.
And she did not defend Chris really at all. She thinks he is exactly where he deserves to be and thinks what he did to Shanann and the girls is horrendous. So just because she wrote this book about him doesn't mean she's on his side, per se. But she claimed that he just seems very delusional in that his thought processes hardly makes sense. He claimed that he felt controlled his whole entire life, that it started with his mom because she would always ask him what he was thinking and why he thought the way he
What he was
did,
doing
and
in the
always try to
bathroom.
control that he liked her more than his dad and spent more time with her than him, and was just very overbearing. And then he got together with Shanann, which is how the way Shanann was. Their life was on social media, so there was a camera in his face all the
They
time.
do say that men marry their mothers.
Always do this for me or do that on the video, pose this way on the pictures. Very controlling also. And now he's in prison, which controls every aspect of your life for the rest of his life. She said that he is not able to receive money in prison, so the rumors of people sending him all this money is just false.
He can only accept a certain amount of money. His books can only have a certain amount of money. He can get money. He can't get money outside of prison. He can't write a book and earn money.
Get any of that. So she never paid him for any part of this book. All the money went to someone, her, because she put in a ton of work and time into it. And then she distributed it with charities and donating it. And she has also tried to find a way to send Shanann's
Sherilyn Cato is problematic.
Family quite a bit of the proceeds also. She also said that he keeps those photos of the girls and Shanann in his cell. Everybody gets that weird feeling when Chris is trying to talk about being a dad. But Chris doesn't understand why everyone's so upset that he's calling himself a dad. And that's what she means by he's like out of touch with reality. He's just somewhere over there. So then the next person we are going to bring up is a guy who got out of prison, supposedly with Chris Watts, and just aired out all his on the Daily Mail. So David spoke to the Daily Mail telling them...
Okay, before we get into this, I just want to remind you that you've got it tuned into Parawoman Radio, and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, I would truly appreciate it. And if you like my content, if you could subscribe, and if you're going to subscribe, you might as well ring that bell. It's just a whole series of wonderful events, right? I do want to say that I'm disagreeing with her, and as I do, I am talking over it or stopping the video. I want to know what you think in the comments below when I disagree. What do you think? Are you agreeing or are you disagreeing with her?
He was in a cell near Chris Watts. He was in prison for meth possession and stealing from his job at Arby's. He said that Chris works in the prison kitchen as a butcher, and he spends any free time he has in the library studying for an appeal. Now, David said he keeps pictures of...
Is he? I did it again. Is he studying? Is he studying for or is he going for an appeal? I don't think he is.
House.
I think he's
Shanann
not doing that.
In his cell. And supposedly with Chris Watts, and just aired out all his on the Daily Mail. So David spoke to the Daily Mail telling them that he was in a cell near Chris Watts. He was in prison for meth possession and stealing from his job at Arby's. He said that Chris works in the prison kitchen as a butcher, and he spends any free time he has in the library studying for an appeal. Now, David said he keeps pictures of the two girls, but he does not keep a picture of Shanann in it. And that Chris has told him that he has the same nightmare every night of the girls playing catch in his cell. And this is where the story just starts making you shake your head and say, oh, David, David tried to tell the Daily Mail that Chris told him that he killed his whole family because he didn't want to pay child support and that he was scared Shanann would take the house in the divorce. Mind you, the house Shanann herself paid to have built, and that he also didn't want Nico. He says that Chris gets a lot of death threats from the prisoners all the time, and that David did say that Chris told him Nicole was writing him.
I
And
don't
he
know
claims
this.
that the prison authorities found
am
out
not
it was
up to date with this Paul guy, so I can't say whether all of this is true or not.
Nicole and punished him cruelly for it by ending their contact. But David did say that Chris absolutely has turned his life to God and that he has become a really good person. And I just have to say, I really just don't care.
Yeah.
And then after this Daily Mail article started circulating, he jumped on a live stream of someone on YouTube to discuss things more.
Oh,
He
I didn't know there
admitted
was a
to
live
looking up
stream.
how popular the Daily Mail was before
we should go
contacting
watch
them
that
for a story.
after
And he
this.
did claim on this live stream that Dylan and Chris were lovers. Yes, Dylan Tallman. Now, I did mention earlier
Well,
his
that's
appeal. He has been
not
trying to file an
too
appeal.
far of a
His team
stretch.
has been looking up loopholes in his case, and he really has went on this point of he didn't feel mentally in the correct headspace to take a polygraph test and talk to the police. He said that he was completely manipulated into it and he just didn't feel like it was his choice. And he says that he spent a lot of time in the law library.
We've got to watch this because I didn't know
studying
all this.
his case and things about it, and that he feels that God has led him to the right directions. And him and his girlfriend Anna called a PI on three-way, and he talked to Chris and pretty much told him, just don't give up, just never take no for an answer, and keep going. So it really pumped his head up, probably just to get a paycheck for a phone call, but whatever. And he did end up filing a 35C, and it's for him to be wanting to get his sentence reduced.
No,
I don't know much about that because I think that's just a Colorado thing.
I don't think he did file it.
And that is all the updates I have for Chris Watts. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for
I don't think a lot of that was accurate. So I don't know. Some of it was really good though. Let's see her link for let's see. It's this one.
Oh my goodness, y'all. We are about to have.
Hey guys, it's Paul and welcome back to my channel. And today,
let me see if I can find the Paul interview that she's talking about. Oh shit. It's Crystal. Let me see if I can find. More Christina Randall. She is not accurate on all of her stuff. On most of it she is, but the Watts case she isn't.
It says we are live. Hello, everyone. It's overwhelming. You can always talk to your PO too and ask her, like, what the hell did I do now?
Honestly,
3 hours long.
even if Watts had gotten away with
and talking about the appeal, and I don't really know what they talked about because I obviously wasn't around for that, but I just know that they spent a lot of time talking.
Has Chris Watts ever told you what happened that night?
And he said that whenever Shanann came back from her business trip, they got in an argument, and
I think that
she
happened.
said that he would never see his kids again,
She
and
probably
he
said
flipped
that.
out and strangled her, smothered her, and then he did the same thing to his daughters.
Did he say why? Did he say why he did that to his daughters?
Yeah, I was under the impression that he did because he didn't want to pay child support. She said that he would never see his kids again, and that she was going to take the
To
house.
his daughters.
And then I'm sure part of it had to do with Nicole Kessinger as well.
Yeah, but why did he kill the kids?
Because he didn't want
Did he
to
say
pay
anything
child support.
about that?
He wanted to start a new life and not have to worry about it. But
Did he tell you
it's kind
that?
of sad. Yeah, he told me that whenever it was in 2000. I met him for the first time in December 2018, and I didn't really talk to him about it until he got to know me a little bit better. He didn't really talk to too many people when he first came to the unit.
And he told you specifically that he killed the kids because he didn't want to pay child support and wanted to start a fresh life.
Where is
with
the
Nicole
child
Kessinger.
support once he kills
Yeah.
Shanann?
And you said
pays
he
it
told you
all.
this. How can you give me like a time frame?
When he
So
told me,
you
Hi,
you were there in
GMD.
2018, but you said that
Hope
he
you're
didn't really
doing well
talk
today.
a lot in the beginning. So when would he have told you this? Approximately.
in the early part of 2019, after we spent a lot of time together and started talking about his case because everybody knew who he was.
Well, David, how did this conversation come up? Like, can you give us more of a context? You know, like, what were you guys talking about that led into the conversation? Because or are you saying that you guys were just kicking it in the yard one day and you just straight out asked
well,
him?
I
You know what I
didn't really
mean?
go to the yard. Yeah,
Well,
we
you know
didn't
what
really
I
go
mean.
to. I spent a lot of time inside, but once he got to know me a little bit better and see that I wasn't going to judge him for who he was because I can't, then I asked him what was going through his head that time and why he did what he did, and that's what he told me. That he did that to his family. So I see that there's a lot of comments for me in your chat. If y'all are wanting to, then I can answer some of them. If y'all want to read those or let me read them, I don't know if y'all want to.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about chat. We're kind of picking out questions and going with the flow because there's just so much, and I just want to make sure that we're kind of like keeping.
I just want to stop it and remind you that you're listening to Parawomen Radio. We're doing some Watts updates, seeing what's new in the case, what's going on the internet with the Watts. I guess we're in the boat traveling around Watts Island trying to see what's new.
Keeping on topic because I do want to explore these things a little bit further because you're saying that you have some of these answers that people have been seeking for a long time. So I want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding anywhere. So early 2019, and you said that he kind of started trusting you when he saw that you wouldn't judge him.
Right. And then that's when he started talking about what happened, and he didn't really feel comfortable talking about it, but I wouldn't either. But as time went on, then he was able to trust me a little bit more.
Okay. And so early 2019, just for context for us Islanders, early 2019 obviously is when the second interview happened. So that happened in February. David, would you remember if it was after he was interviewed by the FBI or before that he confessed to you?
I'm pretty sure it was before, but I don't really know when I came to re-interview him. So I want to say.
How long did you stay in Dodge in 2018?
that was whenever I had my heart infection and I was needing treatment, so I stayed there a little bit longer.
You
I
know,
don't
I
know when
never
that.
realized that the let's get out of Dodge is let's get out of Dodge. I guess I never stopped to think of where Dodge was.
Probably
Was
that
David.
time. Probably that time, like five
I'm a
five months,
blonde.
probably at that point.
All right. You know
Oh,
what?
okay,
I'm just gonna
GMD,
go
you believe
ahead and
100%.
look that up in here in your movements.
I just happened to
Uh,
peek in the what was going on in the chats, and someone said something that he was saying something about stories. He said stories, and then he quickly changed it to conversation. So I might need to take this sweater off. It's so warm all of a sudden. I'm gonna start this and then take this sweater off because it's warm.
2018. Let's see here. So you went in. You went into Brown County Jail
Ooh, oh my god.
in
It's gonna be.
October of 2018, right? And then
Was that from Dodge?
Just hanging out in my
yeah, and then you were
today.
transferred
I'm not getting
to
dressed.
Racine in January, right?
Was
February.
Yeah, it might have been. It was
No,
February,
it was
January, February. I think it was.
yeah. Oh, well, I'm
Do
looking
have
at the
Rose.
I'm
Was
looking
it?
at the on the
Rose sent me a very pretty rose quartz, and I actually had lost my only piece of rose quartz, and so I'm really happy. I love rose quartz. It's such a beautiful stone, and it has beautiful vibes and energy.
website here. So it says you were transferred on January 3rd, 2019. You were transferred to Racine. Okay, so January 3rd, you were gone. So he would have told you this before he spoke with FBI. I think that's
Yeah.
interesting. Jen, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it is interesting because
Maybe I can find this guy and
have
do
you
an
heard
interview
his
with him,
interview
GMT.
with them from Wisconsin, David? Have you watched that on YouTube?
No.
Okay.
I haven't.
Okay.
What have you watched? Like what did
I
you
haven't really
watch
watched.
or see or heard or read about this case? Like what do you know about the case that like what have you done to research the case is my question. There you go.
It would have been good
Because
to
I
get
heard
him
you
fresh out of
say
prison
that you did watch
prior to the
Lana,
research.
so you did some research.
I haven't really think bad or something. And I've seen one video that she made.
When was this video made? Slide. One year ago. It's old.
Okay.
But I've
I've
never
seen
seen it.
the movie
so.
that came out about him in 2020 or whenever it came out.
The movie or
That's
the
the only-
Netflix?
The movie on Left Hand.
Okay.
The movie
So
I
you
haven't
left in
seen that.
January.
Good.
Oh, God. Sorry.
Netflix is better, I guess.
I haven't seen the shows on.
You were breaking up there for a little bit.
I haven't seen the shows on Netflix though.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you left for Racine Correctional Institution in January, and then you came back to Dodge in September of 2020.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the second time around, you were placed in Chris's old cell.
2020, you didn't
Right?
stay very
Correct.
long.
Yes.
And September, when you came back to Dodge in September, did you see Chris on your second time around? Did you see him at all? Did you have any interactions with him?
Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times. I didn't really see him that much. He was working in the kitchen.
Okay. So
He loves
did you
working
have
in the
any
kitchen.
conversation
In one of Angela's letters, he just gushes about it.
with him? your second time around?
It was very limited because he obviously got moved off the unit because of him and Dylan. I got to see him in the library a couple of times when he was going to the law library. And I was doing some research in law stuff myself, so I see him in the law library.
Okay. And has he?
That's the reason I came over here to figure out what kind of relationship he and Dylan had, because apparently this guy is saying that Dylan and him were lovers. Do you think they were lovers? I think they probably were lovers.
Told you anything related to the case in 2020?
He hasn't told me anything about the case. Everything that I really found out about the case I got from Dylan, because him and Chris were so close together and they talked all the time.
Right.
Did you see Dylan and Chris be close? Or is Dylan telling you that they're close?
I actually seen some of the letters that Dylan got from Chris and some of the work that they was doing together.
His
So I know
letters.
that they were very close. I haven't seen them
His
together.
love letters are horrible. They're just full of like picking and choosing from lyrics, and I think it's all lyrics and Bible verses.
So no, I haven't seen
Okay.
it personally.
How does
Gotcha.
he get around the fact that homosexuality isn't okay in Christianity with his religion?
Okay.
Okay.
And what was in those letters that you read that makes you feel that they were close? Now, I'm not saying that they weren't. I'm just asking. I just want to know what you, like, your opinion, because you've seen their letters. I haven't. So,
Right.
You know what I mean?
So they would say, like, they would go to church all the time. They would always work out together. Dylan would write him 5 or 6 page letters. Chris would always write back as many. And they were just, they were
Sounds like a
always on the wall
relationship.
talking together whenever they was locked in the room.
However big of a
Well,
relationship
what I'm asking
that can happen in prison.
is what specifically was written in those letters? If you read them,
I didn't
what
read
did
them,
they
but
write to each other about? Okay.
I didn't read them all, but I know that whenever I spoke to Dylan, he showed me a bunch of mail that he got from Chris.
So did he let you read any letters or no letters?
I got to read some. He didn't let me
What's in it?
read them all.
Asking.
I know that.
She's asking what's in it. He's saying that Chris Watts wrote letters back and forth to Dylan, and he was able to read some of the letters that Chris wrote to Dylan.
Okay.
Chris wrote him and told him that it sucks not being able to order canteen, and he's glad that MJ is looking up for him, so that way he don't start. But that time has been in contact. She sent him cards a lot.
It's a wormhole, isn't it?
And he calls her on the phone occasionally.
Okay.
Hi, Essay. I'm also trying to pick out some stuff in chat here too. And Francesca seems to think that I was a little tough on you, David. Let me know if you don't have to answer any questions that you don't want to. I guess I should have said that at the beginning, but yeah, don't feel like pressured. And I'm not trying to be mean. If I sound stern, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of things. I don't like vagueness. So
And we don't want to.
Well, that's all.
We don't want
to. Really not saying a lot about the letters, and that's all.
Put words in your mouth. That's the thing. I just want to say that we're not trying to put words in your mouth. We want. I think the way the questions are being phrased is so that you give the answer. It's your narrative, not mine, or not Natasha's. It's yours, and because that's important.
Right.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Francesca, for clarifying. What were you going to say, David?
I'll just answer one of your viewers real quick. I would say me and Heather do communicate a lot. We do talk a lot.
Oh, Lord.
Right. We're actually working on something right now, so we're waiting on to figure that out.
This was a year ago. Heather was working on something.
Who's Heather?
I do have communication with Heather. Heather Blair. Somebody said that they heard on another channel I was friends with Heather.
When did you become friends with Heather, David? If you don't mind, and you don't have to answer
Heather,
this. You're
is
not on the
Heather the
stand, or
one
you're not in
that
court.
did Soulmate Secrets? Is that Heather?
I just want you to know that because people tell me all the time. My own husband tells me all the time, "Stop grilling me like I'm across from you in the interrogation room." I don't mean to. Just I'm trying to get it.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear?
This control over you tells you not to do something. I'm sure it depends. I don't know who said it or what channels they told you to stay away from. So I can't say whether they had good motives or bad motives. But I think that you'll find out for yourself, as we all have over time. You have to
It
figure it
definitely
out.
was not my pro officer. My pro officer actually said that I have a freedom of speech and I can do what I want. So
Well,
that's what I'm doing.
within
Reason.
within
As long as it's not,
reason.
Yeah.
not bothering
Like you
anybody.
have you have the freedom to say what you want, but not without repercussions. Like you can't yell fire in a movie theater. That yes, you have the freedom of speech to say that, but you will be in trouble if you do.
All right.
And you're not barred with your original the initial charge. You're not prohibited from being on the internet in any way.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It was so long ago, and I'm not really gonna get into it because some of the viewers don't even believe it. But it was a misdemeanor, so.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get into your,
we don't need your rap sheet.
No, and that's, I mean, we do for credibility, and we have looked at it, and it's.
They're not asking questions.
But that's what I'm saying, like.
Sorry, I'm impatient.
But I guess people have to learn for themselves and go through their own trials and tribulations, I guess. So I just hope that Chrissy's okay now, and that.
Did they put his rap sheet up there?
That this was a lesson for her, a lesson learned for her, and that, she takes care of herself, I guess. But yeah, Dylan's bad news.
I guess she just had a death in her family or something, so she's trying to get through that. And she said that
do this book with Cadel, where he then basically told the same story to Cadel and to his parents. And then later went on to retract that. So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Because there's like too many people in this pot. Go ahead.
So yeah, I try my best to do what I can with the questions that I'm given. Because of my condition, I'm not always able to. So.
What does that mean?
But whenever I had the strokes, I had brain damage, so it's not easy for me to be able to exactly remember.
Okay, so I had a brain bleed, which is a stroke, and I understand that.
For everything.
I have
you can point on everything that I'm asked. So.
Yeah, well, I think you've been doing a pretty good job.
So I see that there's some issues with the letter, and some people wanted to know exactly what was in the letter I got. I don't know if y'all have been able to get that, or if y'all was.
No. Yeah, I mean, Chris's letters
I love it.
Pretty much all the same. I mean, it just talks about religious stuff, and so I'm done with Chris's letters. But if anyone else,
when I see Chris's letters, and it's just all religion and quotes. It's like wah, 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 wah. Like the only good thing that I got was that he worked in the kitchen and he gets free food and he's still a pig and a cow.
Wants to see them, go ahead, David. If you want to show your letters, that's fine.
Oh my gosh, sorry. I just put my petty university cap on and just went in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they're all same anyways, but I know that he was talking about pretty much talking about women not being any good or something. So he didn't.
Yeah, well, it's not like he's a winner, so.
Yeah. don't
Well,
know.
I mean, I mean, women are not any good. Okay. I mean, I don't even know
Very
what to
blank
say to that. I
statement.
mean, I do. I have a lot I could say to that, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna behave because it's Easter.
Oh,
Well,
David,
I, I would say that
oh,
was that's not to come on any channel, so I would probably take it how y'all want. But it is
wait,
Easter, so I
I
decided
didn't,
to.
Gosh, it's gonna be
I didn't
Easter right
understand
Yeah,
what you
after
so
said.
I was
Valentine's
asked
Day is
by some
first.
people not to come on any channels, so um, I decided to come on the channel anyways.
Oh,
Well,
well, that
I like
sounds,
to do I do what I want attitude, David. That's kind of how I live my life. But to be clear, David, you never saw anything with your own eyes. Just to
No,
be
I
clear.
didn't.
Okay.
That's,
All right.
but I know that they did get they found the lube and the boxers and stuff in the room, and the CO did
well,
her in.
we have that conduct report actually.
Yeah, it was
Um,
Oh,
Sarah
okay. Yeah,
Hilscher's the
they put
one
up
that
that
did a
report.
complaint or the incident report on it. So
Here, I'll share that with us. Let me just pull it up. Why is it so loud everywhere I go?
I don't know.
All right, it should be better now.
So they pull it up.
been harassing her and threatening her, and he's doing a lot of
Oh
things.
yeah,
Mother.
Yeah, so
Dylan is dangerous.
she actually changed her phone number now, so
Dylan
she
was
don't have
supposed to
that
be
phone
with
anymore.
Mother.
So she's
Wasn't he?
trying to move on from him.
And that's another thing that Chris is doing without realizing it. So while he's
You know
over
what? I think I'm gonna come back and make
oh,
this a complete listen to.
life.
To
Hey guys, it's April.
let's see if there's anything very new that we can watch. Um, Nicole Kessinger found that was supposedly the photo of her at the grocery store. Chris Watt's father breaks his silence as son was suffering from post traumatic stress. Sorry, it's not funny, but it is funny. Let's see. Raw, Chris Watt's husband, interviewed by Denver 7. I think this is the. No, wait, no, sorry. That's his on the porch thing. I think. Um, okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything really new in the Watts case. Sometimes I read these thumbnail things and it makes me sick to my stomach when I read it. Yeah, I don't see anything. Ooh, rare photos of Chris Watts in jail. Let's watch that. That'll be
Hi, friends.
interesting.
Here's
Ooh,
some pictures of
roses.
Chris Watts in jail. I find them very satisfying. How about you guys? Comment below.
Very satisfying. Rose. Perfect.
Hi,
Okay.
friends.
Well, that's the end of the live. I may be back a little bit later. Um, Depends on how I feel. But thank you everyone for listening. I do appreciate you. If you could give this live a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And if you like my content, subscribe. And if you're going to subscribe, you got to ring the bell button. So it's just a whole series of wonderful events that you must do. You need to do them. The live today with Diane Garris and the twin flame, who was Chris Watts' twin flame, Shanann, or NK, has been rescheduled to the following Sunday. We had a bunch of tech errors, and if you watched it, you know. So next week, Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I'm going to see you next week. All right? Bye, everyone.